Crowds shouted as a rescue worker pulled a small boy from the rubble after a two-story house was flattened in one of the airstrikes. He was one of 4 children killed, along with 5 women and an 80-year-old woman. Children have paid the heaviest price in the conflict. 20 have died in the attack so far. More than 600 people have been wounded, and of those, more than a third have been children. 27 people have been killed on Sunday alone, the largest loss of life in one day since the airstrikes began. In total, 75 people have been killed in 5 days of violence. Nadim Baba has more.
It was home to dozens of people, but as they desperately searched through the rubble, it became clear that many were dead here. Soon the whole of Gaza knew the name. The Dallo family had lost men, women and several children. The bodies were taken to the morgue at the Shifa hospital in Gaza City. Scenes that have shocked people here and prompted promises of revenge by the armed wing of Hamas. Gaza's health minister says it was a massacre, adding half the Palestinians killed in Israeli attacks since Wednesday have been women and children. And the death toll keeps rising. But behind the numbers, families that are grieving.
For the whole community, it's a tragedy. People here know everybody in the area where they live. They know the extended family rather than just 1 or 2 members. And everybody here is asking themselves why they were hit in this airstrike. And obviously this will lead to many people in this part of Gaza and further afield to wonder whether, in fact, that could happen to them as well.
Nicole Johnston joins us live now from Gaza City. Nicole, we've got rockets being fired, airstrikes. Is anyone, Nicole, talking about a ceasefire, and if so, who?
Ceasefire talks have apparently been ongoing in Cairo for the last couple of days. We know that the Hamas political bureau chief, Khalid Mashal, is there. He's speaking with mediators from the Arab world as well as Turkey. The information that we're getting from some sources in Hamas are saying that 90% of the terms of a ceasefire have been agreed to. But it seems that the last 10% is really the difficult one to crack. Hamas is saying that not only does it want an end to the siege and an opening of the borders, it wants a guarantee from Israel that it will stop its policy of assassinating not only members of Hamas, but members of all the different militant groups inside Gaza. Now, Israel is apparently saying, no way, that's a red line. As far as Israel is concerned, if it regards anyone in Gaza to be a threat, it plans to continue to carry out that assassination policy. So that's why the ceasefire or any potential ceasefire at this stage seems to be stuck, and there really doesn't seem to be any movement on it, even if they can agree to other elements of it.
All right, so Nicole, let's talk about Hamas and strategy. Has Hamas changed its military strategy inside Gaza over the course of this current campaign?
Hamas less so. Hamas has been fairly consistently firing rockets since the start of the escalation, except for Saturday night. There was a lull of about 7 hours where no rockets were fired. Now, on Sunday night, it seems that some rockets have been fired. We've had one certainly fired only a few blocks away from the office out of Gaza towards Israel. However, on the Israeli side, there has perhaps been a change of strategy over the last 4 or 5 days. Certainly, Israel started off by carrying out airstrikes on empty fields of land. It then moved to more significant targets, symbolic targets, such as the Hamas police headquarters and the Hamas cabinet building. Now, with the large deaths in the al-Dulu family, it seems that Hamas is now trying to target more, Israel is trying to target more Hamas leaders in their homes. And many of those leaders have, of course, gone underground. They've moved their families out. But it seems that in this case, the man of the house was away, but his family was still there, and then they suffered with 12 people killed in that attack that we just heard about in Nadim Baba's report.
Okay, Nicole, appreciate it. Nicole Johnston for us live from Gaza City. You know, many of those seriously injured in Gaza will have been treated at the Al-Shifa hospital. It is the biggest and most sophisticated facility in Gaza with 700 beds. Now, for many years, it has suffered from shortages. Its staff currently has about half the drugs they say they need. The hospital says that because of the violence, it can only handle emergency cases. Now, earlier I spoke to Dr. Hassan Khalif, a director of Al Shifa Hospital in Gaza.
You know, we are under siege since 6 years, and the siege is affecting the medicines and the Ministry of Health and Hospitals badly. We are running shortage of a big list of drugs, but you know the ones needed for operations and surgeries is less, because we received a few days ago from Egypt and from the ICRC, the Red Cross, some of the kits, emergency kits. Those helped us a lot in dealing with the mass casualties we are receiving nowadays.
Mahmoud Daher is the head of the Gaza office for the World Health Organization. He is coordinating with other international aid organizations for an effective humanitarian response to the crisis. Mahmoud, appreciate your time. If you would, take a moment here and tell us about the work you're doing with the international community to assist the medical emergency underway right now in Gaza.
Yes, the World Health Organization is working in Gaza to coordinate the response of the international community. Tomorrow we will have a meeting with all those organizations working in Gaza Strip. We are emphasizing on the fact that prior to the current escalation, there was more than 50% of the essential drugs that should be available at the Ministry of Health hospitals are out of stock, and there are tremendous needs of supporting the Ministry of Health in order to cope with not only with the current burden of increased casualties reporting to hospitals, but also with the normal functionality of the healthcare services. As you reporters and Dr. Khalaf said, there was important drug items not available, and the Minister of Health is coping on a day-to-day mechanism to ensure these drugs. But there is a need to ensure the drugs and supplies for longer periods in order to ensure that the health sector will not collapse out of an escalation like it happens in these days.
Well, Mahmoud, let me pick up on that point. I wonder how concerned you are. There is a situation as it is on the ground right now in Gaza. How concerned are you about a possible escalation in hostilities and how that would make a bad situation worse?
Well, at this moment, there have been around 700 people reported to hospital. Many of these people should be hospitalized and should be operated. There were some drugs and some consumables not available, but they were just donated in the last moment. If these supplies were not there, people could have lost life. Now, if this escalation will continue and the magnitude of the escalation will cover more and with more casualties will report to hospitals, the healthcare services will not be able to give a proper response without the intervention of the international community. And this is what we are doing. We are calling for the international community to coordinate all their efforts with the Ministry of Health and or with the WHO in order to ensure that only drugs and supplies needed are coming, but not to donate things that are not needed.
Mahmoud, let's end it there. Mahmoud Daher is the lead person for the World Health Organization in Gaza, and right now he is actively coordinating with international aid organizations to form an effective humanitarian response to the crisis. Mahmoud, appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. Two rockets shook the southern Israeli city of Ashkelon. One of the rockets crashed through the roof of an apartment block. It then came out through the wall of one of the apartments inside. No one was hurt. The Israeli government is considering, as you know, a ground invasion of Gaza to stop the rocket attacks. Nizreen Al-Shamaila has this report now from Jerusalem.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened to expand the military operation in Gaza. but without giving specifics or mentioning the possibility of a ground operation.
The Israel Defense Forces have attacked more than 1,000 terror targets in the Gaza Strip, and it continues its operation at this very moment. It causes significant blows to the weapons aimed towards Israel, its operators, and the people who send them. We are exacting a heavy price from Hamas and the terrorist organizations, and the Israel Defense Force is prepared for a significant expansion of the operation.
Israeli officials say the aim of the operation in Gaza is to cripple rocket launching capabilities that target Israeli civilians. As long as Israel feels it has not fully accomplished that goal, there is widespread belief it will continue to announce its readiness for a ground operation. Additional troops and tanks have been deployed along the border between Israel and Gaza. And of the 75,000 army reservists whose drafting has been approved, 30,000 have already been called. After an overnight pause in rockets fired into Israel, fighters in Gaza launched 2 into Tel Aviv on Sunday morning. Both rockets were intercepted by Israel's so-called Iron Dome missile defense system. But each rocket, whether intercepted or not, is believed to increase the chances of a ground operation.
A lot of international and diplomatic efforts are being made in order to reach a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. Though Israel, in theory, would not reject a ceasefire, it maintains it will continue its airstrikes as long as rockets are still landing in its territory. Nisreen Al-Shamaili, Al Jazeera, West Jerusalem.
Prayers have been held in the West Bank and Jerusalem to end the violence. Christians in the city of Beit Jala held a mass to pray for the people in Gaza, and hundreds of Jews gathered at the Western Wall. The rabbi led a special prayer service in Jerusalem.
Special prayer for the events that have been happening lately, for the rockets that are falling on Israel, and that the soldiers should be safe and that everyone should be safe. There should be peace in the world in general.
As the Israeli missiles continue to hit Gaza, there is mounting anger in the West Bank. In the city of Nablus, Palestinian demonstrators threw stones at Israeli soldiers. The army responded with tear gas. Several protesters were injured and some were arrested. Speaking in Ramallah, the president of the Palestinian Authority welcomed the support of the Arab states, but called on their leaders to follow their words with action.
Practical, tangible measures are yet required from our fellow Arab brothers, so that the Israeli leaders would realize the consequences of continuing to shed Palestinian blood, and key international leaders be pressured to effectively intervene to end the aggression. And since this requires bold decisions to the highest levels, I requested our Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki to file an official application with the Arab League Secretary General for an emergency Arab summit. And I here renew the call to the Arab leaders to convene the summit at the earliest.
Ghazi Hamad is the deputy foreign minister of Hamas. He says Arab countries understand the situation better now, but that Palestinians expect them to do more.
I think now what we heard from the Arabic League is something is completely different than the past. We feel that people now became more serious, and now you know that most of them, they come to Gaza, Egypt and Tunisia yesterday, and maybe on the next Tuesday there will be a big delegation from Arabic League. They will come and they show kind of condolences and support and sympathy. And I think this is a very important message. They want to tell the world that Gaza is not alone. The Palestinian people is not alone, and they are against the Israeli aggression. But we expect from our brothers in order to take more actions, more serious procedures in order to impact more pressure on Israel to stop its aggression against our people. And I think we have the ability and the capacity to do this. We don't need more words, more statements. We now need more action in order to show that Israel, the time that you are killing people and doing what you want, now it has passed forever, and now it is a time of action. And I think now we feel that the people in Egypt, Tunisia and other countries are honest in their loyalty to Palestine and to Palestinian cause.